Well, hello. How's everybody today? Good?
Wonderful.
Hey, the sun is shining. A good day. Hey, no more rain today. But we're getting another storm, they said, on the weekend, so prepare yourself. We're not through yet. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the economy and how we're doing. And then today I want to talk about objections and the kinds of things you're getting that people tell you, and maybe some things that you can say to them in response to that that might help you. So what can I say about the national economy? Stock market up for the 9th day in a row, highest it's ever been. So what that leads us to believe is that they think this economy is getting better, and I think it is. When you look at earnings, all the earnings have been reasonably good. Basically, Europe is calming down. Emerging countries are doing better. We basically have Mr. Trump in there who's doing everything I guess he can to try to get this place jump-started. He had a big budget meeting today, and at that budget meeting, he sort of laid down the rules. He said no more hirings in the federal government. That's it. If somebody dies or leaves, they're not going to replace it. He said it's out of control. We've doubled our debt in 8 years, and he said we're not going to be doing that anymore. Everything's going to be negotiated. Everything is going to be competitive, and we're through throwing money away. So I guess that's a good thing because this place is out of control business-wise. So I think that's what he said today, and the street viewed that very positively. And the Dow was up to 20,008, NASDAQ was about 5,008, and the S&P was about 2,300. Now, you know what I've told you, my either-or scenario. We're going to know within 6 to 7 months whether or not this place gets jump-started and we move from this crappy 1.9 up to 3% economy. It's going to take time. We'll know. If in 6 or 7 months we're not moving in the right direction, they haven't taken care of taxes, they haven't taken care of health care, then we're going the other way, which is into a recession again. Now, we'll do better here because we always do better whether it's a good time or a bad time. But if we go into another recession, interest rates, which basically have stabilized a bit but been climbing, will go down again because they will have to. If we're moving the other way, we're going to have some inflation, but I don't think the inflation is as much as the Federal Reserve tells you. I think it's pretty tame out there. That's part of why the market's so good. And I think that basically you will have some if the economy gets moving, and you're going to see basically mortgage rates go to 4 or 5%. You're going to see basically Mrs. Yellen raise interest rates probably 2 times next year. So get prepared for the 5% mortgages, all right? Now that's the first objection we can talk about. Everybody's going to say, oh my God, 5%. I don't want to buy a house at 5%, right? It's too much to pay. I should be only paying 2 or 3%. Well, I think we need to say to them, look, the day of 2 and 3% is gone. That only happens when you're in a recession. Because when you're in a recession, everything slows down. Consumers don't spend, businesses basically tighten up. And in order for us to fuel the economy, what happens is interest rates have to go down so people can access money more cheaply. Well, if the economy is growing, you're not going to get lower interest rates. Interest rates are going to go the other way. So number one, you're not going to get 2-3%. You don't want 2 or 3% anymore. It is free money. It's very nice, but it means we're in a recession, which means that the country isn't moving well. So we don't want to wish that, really honest, at this time. Is it expensive money? 5% is not expensive. It's fair money for a mortgage because on average it's been 7%. You get the deduction. You're going to get a tax break. If you don't get a tax break, you'll never see mortgage rates at 5% because one's going to offset the other. So you have $100,000 taxable income. You get a new tax rate. They've lowered your taxes 10%. That's $10,000 you get to have and keep. Over here, you're going to pay slightly more for your mortgage, but it's deductible and you get something. It's called equity in a house. So at the end of the day, there are trade-offs in life. Well, I don't know. We don't want to buy anything because of that. Well, you're an idiot, okay, because you need to get into real estate. I don't care whether interest is at 2%, 3%, even up to 7%, because until you get in, you don't get any of the advantages. None of the tax benefits, none of the capital gains free benefits. You can't have anything that appreciates, and let's talk about that. You're spending now what on an apartment? Oh, I'm spending $3,000 a month on an apartment, right? Okay, fine. We know that we can go out and find something, and your payment will be equal to that or less after you deduct what you're going to get in mortgage interest deduction, etc. Here's the deal. You're so worried about the fact that interest rates are going to go up. But let's look at this over a 30-year period. Let's look at it over 5 years. In 5 years, at $3,000 a month, times 12% every month, right? That's $36,000 times 5. You have paid almost $200,000 out of your pocket to somebody, correct? And you have nothing to show for it. You have no equity, you don't have a piece of property, you've not gotten a deduction. You would have had $200,000 worth of equity that basically, let's say that would have basically attributed to part of it, because part would go to the bank. So out of that $200,000, let's say you had $50,000 that you built up, number one, just because part of it went on your loan. Oh, and by the way, in that 5-year period, it might have appreciated, let's say crappy, only 3%, another 25. You have $75,000 now in your hand. Over here, you're out $300,000 and you have nothing. That's why it doesn't matter whether it goes to 4 or 5%. You need to get into the real estate business because it builds wealth for you. You're going to end up 3 years, 5 years down the line with $75,000 here because you bought something, you paid down the loan, you got a deduction on the mortgage, and hopefully it appreciated, and 2-3% is not being crazy, okay? Over here, you got nothing. The landlord got it. His appreciated. He got the write-off, and he got the benefit. So that's the first thing when people say to you, I don't want to do this because interest rates are going up. You have to get into the real estate business. You must own a piece of property today because property builds wealth. Real estate is one of the few assets that you get all of the benefits of. You get cheap interest, fair, you get all the deductions from the government, and you get to walk away with part of it tax-free totally. So that's the first thing. Now what about if somebody says to you, I'm not ready to list my house yet? That's one you get all the time, and I know you do. Let's talk about that. You cannot convince somebody to list their property if they're not ready. You just can't. When people list their properties, it's because they have a reason. It could be too big, the kids moved out, they're relocating, they can't afford it anymore, they want to move to a new neighborhood, they're tired of a big house, they want to get rid of all the maintenance. Whatever it is, they have a reason. When they tell you they're not ready, what they're saying is, I don't have a reason yet. So you can sit down and discuss 9 million things with them and it's not going to convince them. But here's something you can say to them. I appreciate that. But usually when people tell you they're not ready to list their house, I bet you it's somebody who's owned their property 7 years or more. I'll bet you. And I'll bet you that that person has built up some equity in that property. And a lot of times they've lived their 20 and 30 years in that property. And what they need to understand is this. It's wonderful that you're living in this piece of property. It's great that you have it. But you have a lot of dead money tied up in this property. What do I mean by dead money? Money that's not working for them. Money that basically, it's nice that it's there, it helped them buy the house, but it's just sitting there. One of the things you might say to them is, rather than listing this property, why don't we refinance this property? Now we'll get some cash out, and we'll go buy an investment property for you, and now you've used the house, you still can live in it, it's still yours, you didn't have to sell it, but we've taken some money and we've done an investment, which means that basically now we have money working for us. That's a very good thing to suggest to people that basically have not wanting to list their property. The other thing is, all the time you have trouble with people about pricing and what they think a price of a home is worth versus what you think. One of the things you might suggest to them, you can show them the comps, you can show them everything. But see, it still isn't their house you're talking about. It's somebody else's property. My house is different. Oh, I saw that. I get it. But my house is different. Well, if your house is different, why don't we do this? Why don't we have an oral appraisal? Do you understand what I mean by an oral appraisal? It's an appraisal that comes, and orally they tell you what a home is worth. Now, why is that important? Because if it's oral, you don't have to divulge it. If it's written, you know you have to show it to the other side. But if it's oral, you don't have to say that you've had an appraisal done. And if they're giving you a really hard time about the price, an oral appraisal may get them realistic. Because once you get that from an appraiser, you can say to them, this house is gonna be appraised. They're going to want to appraise it. Unless it's the low, low end, they're gonna want to appraise it. When they see that appraisal, they're not gonna pay you the money that you want for this property. So now we need to price it within this appraisal range so that it can basically sell, because that's very, very important. Now, let me tell you some of the things that I'm seeing out there that people are doing. They're offering everybody everything from hell, and I know that. There are people going in and they're saying, okay, we need to stage the property, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it up front, I get it back at the end of the escrow. Here's the key, guys. If you think a property needs staging, and a lot of them do because of the competition, right?
Mhm.
The competition is staging. Maybe they don't look so bad, but it's what's competitive. The first thing you need to tell them is, look, we have to be at least as good as the competition, because otherwise you're not going to get top dollar for this property, and you want to get more than the competition. How can you possibly do that if you're not equal or better than the competition? So number one, let's discuss what staging does. Staging should get you a better price for your property. It should be able to do that. Anything you do in cosmetic redos should help the property bring more value to the table. So you shouldn't think of it as an expense. It's an investment in the property. That's number one. Number two is, anybody that does staging, it doesn't have to be every single room. That's the next thing to tell them. They think staging means, oh my God, somebody's going to come in here, I'm going to spend $85,000 redoing my property. You really just need to do a main room or two main rooms, maybe the family room, living room, and the master bedroom. That's plenty. If you do that much, you'll be fine. In the kitchen, you guys have stuff you can bring in, little knickknacks, towels, or whatever. That's no big deal. So number two, it doesn't have to be major. It can be basically impactful, but not necessarily too expensive. The third thing is they have to understand staging comes in and makes it look attractive to the profile of the buyer. So if they have a millennial that they think is going to come in and buy this house, and your furniture is from 1980, they're not going to like that furniture, you know that. So they're going to bring in something state-of-the-art, very trendy, that will appeal to them. So that's worth the extra effort to do that. The fourth thing is, a stager, basically, what they do is they take all of the wonderful things about your property and make them stand out. And any defects, like it's dark in a room, or, for example, a room is small, or there's too many curves in a room and you can't put anything in there hardly, they'll make that all look better. So there's a lot of good reasons why they should consider staging. Now, if they absolutely won't pay for it, one of the things you can say to them is, basically, I will upfront it. When it sells, you will pay me back, and if it doesn't sell, you will pay me back. And you need to get that in writing. Believe me, you need to just say that we've agreed there's going to be some staging. These are the conditions for the payment of the staging. They pay, right? You pay, but you better make sure you get it back when it sells. Oh, what if it doesn't sell? Now you're going to be out $2 or $3 grand. You can't have that happen. So what you say to them is, I get it back at escrow, or if it doesn't sell, I'm still going to get it back because I'm upfronting it for you, okay? If they don't want to do staging, then there's nothing much you can do except then start with, then this is what we, if you don't want to, okay, fine. You don't want to pay for anything, you don't want to pay me at the end, then I need to talk to you and go room by room, and we need to clean up and basically move some things. That's what we have to do. Then we have to go through and do some basically trimming, and we have to basically get some furniture out of here, and we have to open up the spaces. This'll work, that won't. Period. Okay, that's fine. Now, let's think of what else they're saying to you. Let's talk about disclosures. Disclosures are very, very important. On the way over here, I was just on the phone with a gentleman who bought a home in Marin County, and they wanted, it's a very expensive home, it was a $3 million home, and they wanted to do a big renovation in the garden, front and back. So they bought it with the opinion that they could do that, all right? So they called in and basically someone who basically did a complete inspection of the outer part of the property, only to tell them that because of the property and the slope in the backyard, they can't put anything within 75% of where the water drains. That takes out a lot of their property in the back, right? Huge, okay, absolutely huge. So they were gonna put in a patio and a barbecue pit and all of that. That's all gone. Nobody told them that. Nobody even questioned it. Nobody did anything to make sure that it was gonna be able to be landscaped, even though they knew these people wanted to landscape it. So this is what I would tell you about disclosures. I think if you're really in the business of protecting yourself, I think half of these people lie, you know they do, and the other half just pretend that it never happened. And I'll give you another example. We had a house in Los Gatos when I was at Alon Pinnell, and these people bought it, and one night they were walking there in the neighborhood because they wanted to see, you know, how it was at night, blah, 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 and their neighbor was out watering the lawn. And the neighbor said to them when they introduced themselves as the new neighbor, "Doesn't the house look really nice after the big fire?" And the guy said, "What fire?" "Oh, my God, this house was all destroyed like a year and a half ago. Didn't you know that?" "No, we didn't know that." Calls up the agent at Lon Pinnell. The agent says, "I didn't know that." Of course the sellers knew that. You know what they said, what their reason was? "Well, we replaced it. Everything was new, so we didn't think we had to disclose that." Let me give you another one. When I was at Fox and Carskadden, we sold a house. We get a phone call basically in March, April from the person that bought it and said, "I have about 100 frogs in my backyard that are croaking. And I don't want frogs in my backyard croaking. And I think they come here every year. That's what my neighbors now have told me, and nobody told me that." So the person that lived there before the seller, you know what the answer was? "Oh, I like frogs. I didn't think that would bother anybody." Yeah, it would bother somebody. 100 frogs in your backyard? Are you stupid? Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you at the end of the day, look it over, make sure they've answered it correctly, all right? Make sure if something's been added, did they get a permit? Yeah, they did. Is it finally permitted? Did they have the final inspection? Because when they say it was permitted, they may have started the permit. Did they get the end permit? Because you're going to get into trouble with all that stuff now. If there's something that's been added, why was it added? And how was it added? Was it done up to code? Because we want to know all of that, right? What other things have happened to this property? How many floods have you had? How many this, that, and whatever? Because they lie. They don't want to say that they had basically a floor that got flooded, and therefore the insurance came in and had put in a new floor, because see, that's going to create a problem that someone's going to say, well, does the floor really rot, or is there mold under the floor? You know the routine. So at the end of the day, I think it's very important that that's an obstacle. The reason why I say it's an obstacle is because they don't like to fill it out the way that they should. Another obstacle for you, especially on both sides, is you should always try to get a clue report. Always. Get a clue report whether you're listing a property or a clue report whether you're basically on the buying side. Because a clue report tells you what has happened with insurance on that property over the last 5 years. They'll forget. It's good for you to know, okay? You just need to know these things so that you don't run into problems when you're going through an escrow. Now, somebody told me some of the things that agents are doing out there, so let me tell you. There's a company called Real Eye. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's a company that's out there now. Have you heard about it? Okay, let me tell you what they're doing and what the process is. This is a real estate company that's not the traditional model that you know. All that they do is they have an office in San Francisco, and that office is a processing center, okay? So what they do is they'll handle the paperwork for you, they'll handle some marketing for you, the processing, when you start the back end. You are in business for yourself. You do not, and you are not in business with them. You're just using them as a vendor. Okay, so you understand what I'm saying? All right. So that means that you're responsible for your own signs, your own E&O. You are a separate business, okay? They don't care what rules and regulations you make with your clients. You can walk into a client and say to them, I'm going to charge you 3% and give you back 2%. You can do any kind of marketing you want, but let me tell you what they're doing. They're going in front of open houses that they know have been listed in the paper, and they're parking their cars, and as soon as they see somebody going towards the house, they're handing them flyers and they're handing them information about them and how much less they'll work for them if you use them. That is against DRE rules. So if you find somebody doing that on one of your listings, you call the owners here and you get them on the phone the next Monday with the DRE. They're doing it all up and down the peninsula. Absolutely. They're out there in force because they don't have a traditional way of real estate to get clients. So they're out there doing that. So that's going to certainly be an obstacle to you. But the way to handle it is you can't make a scene in front of clients. Just say to them, please leave. And say, if you don't, on Monday morning, I'm going to have a report. I'm going to report you to the DRE. You cannot do this. This is my open house. Park down the street, do something else, but you can't be in front here soliciting people as they come in the door. But they're doing that, okay? So you want to know that you basically
Real
can...
Eye, Carol? Real Eye? Is that
Real Eye, it's called.
Do they have a license on record?
The company does. Oh, yeah, every agent has its own license. You're an agent by yourself.
The company.
No, the company has a broker license, yes, but you're not associated with them. They're not hanging for you. They're not responsible for you. They have nothing to do with you. All that they're doing is processing.
But the person who goes to the house normally works for them, right?
No, they don't work for them. They work for themselves. You're separately self-employed. You are who you are. You hold the license. You're the one that's going to get in trouble, not them. They're just a processing center, okay? That's all that they are, just a processing center. Okay, now you gave me an example this morning when I walked in. He said that a lot of agents, especially on high-end listings, I would assume this is not on a $500,000 listing, they're going in with the new idea now, which is we're everything. We're reconstruction, we can redo the property, then we list it, then we sell it, then we do all of this crap. Okay. Now look, guys, here's the thing, I think. When you have somebody that's going to do everything, all right, here's the questions I think you just need to put to the client. You need to say to the client, oh, I can understand and appreciate that. But I guess here's the questions I would ask. I would say, first of all, who's doing the work? That's number one. Very important. Because you want to make sure that the people doing the work have a license, that you check them through the state to make sure that they don't have any claims against them. You want these people to supply that to you. That they're bonded, okay, and that they have insurance. Oh, by the way, not just general insurance, do they have workman's comp? Because here's what's going to happen to you. Somebody's redoing your kitchen, and they fall on your floor. They're not only going to sue the agent, they're going to sue you. Because guess what? If you're not covered, they're going to sue whoever and whatever place they're at. So it sounds wonderful, but there's a lot of legal issues involved. Okay, do you understand what I'm saying? If they pay for it and they upfront it as basically the broker, then they have obviously some responsibility. Now, let me ask you this question. Here's the next thing. Who are they? What kind of resources do they have? The broker that's paying for this or the agent? Do they have insurance? Are they going to cover this construction company if they go belly up? You know how many construction companies start a job and then they don't finish it? Okay. What about basically, are they going to come in then with the rest of the money? What kind of insurance do they have? Those are very good questions. It's not a question that somebody can offer you that. Anybody can offer you that. My question is it reputable? Is it going to be on time? Do they have insurance? What are their insurance claims? What does the State Department say about them? How did you find them? Why do you use them? Right? Okay. Oh, and by the way, are they paying you a fee? Are they giving you a kickback? Because we'd like to know that. Because since I'm going to be hiring them, let them give the kickback to me, right? Since I'm agreeing with you that it should happen. All those are good questions. Now we get to the second part. Well, they're going to upfront it. But you know and I know they're not going to give somebody $75,000 worth of improvements and not get something back. That's not going to happen. So the next question is, what happens in this process? this money, they just gave you $75,000 as a gift. Oh, well, they said it's coming out of my commission. It's coming out of your commission. Let's think about that. You're gonna sell, how much is that house gonna be listed for?
6.5,
Okay, what's it gonna sell for?
probably around 8.
How much?
Around 8.
It's gonna sell for 8.
Yeah, if they do all the work.
Okay, and what do you think the commission is gonna be on that? It's not gonna be 6%.
No bargain, 6%.
That's what they said?
Well, that's the agent said.
The agent said
Yes.
that. Okay, what do you think they're gonna actually pay?
Well, the Kathy Bridgman, very established lady, she's not gonna go lower than that.
Okay.
So nobody would bargain, high end, that's it.
Maybe. Let's say that it ends up being 5%, okay, just for conversation. 5% of 8 million is $400,000, right? Now that's gotta get split. Okay, so now it's 200 and 200, right? Now she's put in marketing, 75, it's not gonna be 75, you know it and I know it. The 75 is gonna go to 100. So she's gonna put in 100 grand in the renovation, plus you know she's gonna put probably a couple of, at least maybe, if she has a long listing, unless it sells right away, she's gonna put in $12,000, $13,000, maybe $20,000 in marketing and time, where she could have been selling something else, etc. So 125,000 of the 200,000 is gone, assuming she pays for everything, right? So she's left with $75,000. That's going to be her total commission, okay? Next question is, can she deduct the $100,000 from her income tax?
Wow, good question.
You know, Carol, most of the high-end agent, they have their own LLC established, like a staging company, you know, like the
A renovation
renovation.
company.
So they do all the deduction within.
I
their own
understand
LLC.
that.
So
Okay, fine.
It might worth it.
Now, I'm agreeing with you. She can do that. That means now that she owns a company that does renovations and reconstructions. I hope she's got a lot of insurance. I hope she has a lot of basically resources and a lot of liability coverage there, because she's going to need it. Okay, let's assume, and these are other questions, do you even know if the agent's gonna pay for it all? Well, they said they're gonna upfront it. Upfront doesn't mean pay. Upfront means I'll put it up front. Something happens at the back end. Are you gonna have to, Mr. Seller, pay it back when the house sells? Maybe. Or what if it doesn't sell? Then what happens? Then who gets paid what? Because if it doesn't sell, she doesn't get any money out of a commission either, but she's out 125 grand. Can she afford that?
But if they double ended, they will kick back the 75,000.
They're gonna kick it back to her?
If they do a double ending, normally they do it sometimes. Right?
Okay, what if it doesn't sell?
They have to eat it.
Then she's out, isn't
Yeah.
she? 125,000 bucks.
She'll
And maybe she
use-
doesn't
She'll use
care.
it as a loss on her
And
taxes.
maybe she can afford it, so good for her, she'll take a loss on her taxes,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I think there's two things they need to understand. It's perfectly, you can appreciate what they're looking at. One is, you would be concerned as to who owns the company, who's gonna do it, are they bonded, what's the history, what's their state contractor's license, look it up. You wanna know who's involved, what insurance they have, what coverage, workman's comp, etc. And the second is who gets what at the end and who pays for what at the end. Because there's no free lunch. There's no free lunch. Now, she may do it that way. I know who Kathy Bridgman is, she worked for me. I know exactly who she is. This is the new fad now with these very expensive homes. So, I think you get a choice. You either match that, or you just go in and say to them, I'm not gonna be able to do that, but maybe you don't have to take 6% either. You see, there's your basically only leeway. Maybe you could take 4%. And at the end of the day, if you took 4% against 8 million, that's 320,000. That's $80,000 they saved, because she wants 6%, right? So you can basically, and I will tell you, I know what she's telling you. but she worked for me. Very rarely at 8 million do you see a 6% commission. This is how they structure it. I'm going to give you a clue so you know. Here's what they say. If it sells within the first 30 days, we'll do it for 4. If it sells from a month to 6 months, then we want 4.5. Then you understand. So they're saying to you, oh, I asked for 6. They did. But the 6% was if it takes a year or better to sell it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're not going to come up with the 75,000, but we just found a way to save him 80,000 bucks. So I think that's something that you can use, okay? And let me give you another clue about commissions and fees. When you go in and somebody says, well, Susan's willing to do it for 4%, and you're saying you can't do that, right? The least you could do it for is 5. Well, we can't do that then. Maybe what you say to them is, why don't I meet you in the middle? And instead of 5, and you not getting her for 4, I'll do it for 4.5. Now, why do I say that? Because 0.5% on one deal isn't a lot, but if you do 10 deals in a year and you got 0.5% on each one of those deals, that would be a lot of money by the end of the year. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can work it out a little. You have to be a little bit negotiable. I understand you want to hold the 6%. Your owners would love you to hold the 6%, and I get it. But on an $8 million house, she's not getting 6%. Trust me. I could go back in her records and look and tell you they are not getting 6%. Okay, it is, no, they're not getting 6%. So I think that's your leeway there. Is if you can't put up the 75,000, say to him, I can understand that, but I think I can do something at the other end that will basically balance that or make it just as good for you. Without any liability, without any concerns, without anything. Then let him go spend the 80 grand if he wants. If he can afford to live in an $8 million house, he can afford to put up the 80 grand if that's what it's going to take. Okay. Now, let me think of some other obstacles that you get out there. You go in and you're on a listing presentation, and obviously, here's the keys, guys. You need to understand that if they're unrealistic in their pricing, of course you can take it, but here's how you overcome that obstacle.
Okay.
When somebody says to you, you come in and you show them stats and you show them comps and you give people a range. Ranges are good. Actually, give them 3 options.
Right.
That's what you really want to do. You start the conversation. You want to be in control. And the way that you do that is you give them 3 options. Say, I want to show you the stats. I'm going to give you the profile of the buyer. I've thought about it. I've looked at the other competition. I've looked at the condition of the house, blah, blah, blah. And I want to give you 3 options. If you choose to price it here, it's going to stay on the market a lot longer, so we need to be patient. It's going to take probably some adjustment, so you need to be prepared for that. If we don't, within the first 20 days, get some kind of basically offers and we don't get a lot of activity. So you need to understand we can do this. We can start here, but it's going to take time, and we're going to be in the adjustment business. If we price it here, this is right where the market is. This is a safe place to be. It'll sell quicker as long as the market stays here. If we take the third choice, that is aggressive towards the lower end. We should sell it in a shorter amount of time. We may get even multiple offers, which means here we have the potential to get a little bit more. Now, they get to pick. So they pick this one.
Right.
Fine. You tell them we'll start there. I'm going to do all this marketing, but I'll tell you what. I need this commitment from you. If within the next 20 days we haven't gotten the kind of response we should, I'm going to come back and we're going to make a one-time adjustment. Now we have to be aggressive. Now we have to be the best on the market. Now we have to be the lower price. That's just the way it is. Because otherwise we're a second-hand rose. And basically nobody wants that. And they're going to know, and they're going to say, this house has been overpriced from day one. Now they started to drop at 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. How many more drops do we have? We're just going there one time, that's it. If they choose the middle, that's pretty fair, it's market. Your choice might be for them that they really choose the aggressive one, because that's, in this market, probably the best place to be. But that's the way you overcome that objection, because you can. So you give them 3 options, but make it very clear. If they choose this one, that's fine. But it's the start, it's not the end of the journey. And there's going to be an adjustment, because there is going to be an adjustment if they start there. Let me talk a little bit about the entry market and what you have to do with sellers in the entry market. The entry market is a little bit different than it was basically a year ago, 2 years ago. Entry market, teaser rates, lots of buyers, everybody running, all cash, 10-day close, I didn't care, write the check, right? What we're seeing now is anything that has a 5 or 6 in front of it, 550, 600,000, still works that way.
Yep.
Very little inventory, everybody running, 300 people through the open house, 25 offers, going like crazy. I was in Livermore the other day. A house goes up for 560. They had 300 people in the open house and 42 offers. In San Francisco, in a very gray location, that's a nice way of saying crap, right? Okay. With a tear down almost, goes up for 650. Do you know what it sold for? Take a guess.
$1 million?
What?
$1 million?
Close. 900 and some odd thousand. This is a tear down. You can't live in it.
Wow.
I mean, I guess you could, but I mean, it'll probably fall down. But that's okay. So you're beginning to get it. This is the way the entry market is working now.
That's true.
If you're between 5 and 700,000, you've got hot, no inventory, multiple offers. The minute you start to hit 750, 8, 900,000, the whole mentality of the buyer changes, and they're not running with the checkbook. Here's why. They have been told in Real Estate for Dummies 101, the book, and they've been told in every newspaper and on the internet, so you know it's true if it's on the internet. Oh my God, it has to be true then. When interest rates start to go up, what's supposed to happen to the value of real estate? It's supposed to go down. So they, at 700,000, say, I shouldn't be paying what this is listed for and have to pay up. I should look at what it's listed for and be able to pay down, because interest rates are going up. The market's changing. Now see, that's true unless you have no inventory. And we have no inventory at the entry level. But what do you care? Whether you put it low and you go high, or you place it a little bit higher and then they bid it down, as long as you get them where you need to do. So I have had all the presentations last week in 9 offices. They put stuff on the market at 700, 800, 900,000. It didn't sell. They took it off, put it back on at a little bit above market, not the low teaser rates, and it sold. Isn't that ridiculous? So that's the thinking. Those are obstacles that you have to be creative to overcome. If you had listed those at the teaser rate, which they did, everybody came and looked, they took the disclosures, and nobody came the day that they were supposed to put in the bid. And the reason was when the agents called, well, the market, my clients say this market is moving. Interest rates are going up. This house isn't going to be worth this. We're not going to bid. We're not going to get in a bidding game and bid up $100,000 on this house. We'll never get it out. The minute they put it 5% above market, perfect. Now they could bid down 5%, now they were happy because they got a deal. That's the key.
Carol, how does the new developments work? Like, they're putting out this, this phase now, and then they tell the buyer, well, it's gonna go up once this phase goes on, and it's gonna go up a certain percentage. How do they work that?
Well, they know all their costs of the whole project.
Okay.
Okay, but they build it in phases.
Right.
Because they're not gonna go and spend the money and get a loan to build the whole thing, because they know they'll never sell 100% of it all at once. So one, they already know their costs. Okay. Depending upon, they set a price, and every time they have a phase, they assume the market's appreciated, and that there's a desire for people to live there because they sold the first phase, so it becomes popular, so there's a percentage increase for the next one. Now let's say that it doesn't sell well. That's when you start to see them say all the upgrades are included. You know how you walk in and they give you the Corian and they give you the hardwood floors and they give you this and they give you that and they give you a home warranty and they'll pay for the home insurance or they'll give you some costs against the mortgage, basically, etc. When you see that, what you know is it's not moving the way it should, because they're not in the business of freebies. They did their costs. Their costs said, look, this is what we're getting for these properties. When we can't get that, and people love that. They absolutely love that. I have seen people go in and rather than they'll give you a choice. We'll give you $10,000 off the price of the house, or we'll give you, $50,000 in upgrades. They're not giving you $50,000 in upgrades. It's their house. They built it. They bought, 800 tons of marble to put in this place. You don't think they paid it. They're giving you a 300% markup. Yeah. Terrific. Yeah. Oh, I want $50,000 worth of freebies. That sounds a lot better than 10,000. No, 10,000's a lot better. Forget it. But they're charging you a 300% markup on the freebie that they're giving you. That's how they do it. Now, sometimes they cooperate with real estate agents, sometimes they don't.
Right.
Most of them have a sales office where they have specific people that sell and that's all that they do. They sell that project, okay? When that doesn't work well, they'll go out and start to give parties for the real estate community, and they come out and say to you, and we'll give you a full 3%, and isn't this wonderful? And if you sell one, we're even going to give you a rebate, and we'll give you $1,000 in cash. Okay, what that tells you is they're having trouble selling those units. That's it. So they can give as much as they want away. They start to begin to lose money. Maybe they don't care, because that's better than losing everything, right? But they have been pretty profitable lately, but the problem is they're only building high end. Because the cost of land here is expensive, and permits in any county in the state of California, in order to build a new house, costs about $24,000 in permits and fees, just to get an okay to build one house. So the cost of that house is up $24,000 the day it starts, and then you have land. And so for them to go and build a house for $500,000 doesn't even make sense. That's why you don't see them. Apartments, yes, because they can rent them and get a very good return. Basically, they just can't build for $500,000 or $600,000, which is entry level, and make enough money that it's profitable for them to do that. Now, another obstacle you're going to get, and I guarantee you you're going to hear it now, if any of you own investment property, or if any of you are representing clients that own investment properties, all the renters are going to start to whine that rents are too high, and they want a reduction on their rent. I had two this week in some of the units that we have. One is this guy who rented a unit about 5 months ago, and he is paying $4,500 for this unit. So he calls my son the other day and says to him, I think rents have gone down. Things are tough and getting tighter. The real estate market is not good, so I think I'm just going to send a check for $4,200 a month. Excuse me, you have a contract, but we didn't even bother with that. We said to him, fine, feel free to move out. When will you be doing that? Because the 4 other people that wanted this unit, we're going to call them, because I'm sure they're going to be willing to pay $4,500. I had a lady, this one you will not believe, that lives in an apartment that I own in Pacific Heights, okay? The average rent there is $6,000 and up. She is paying $800 a month because of rent control and because she's lived there so long. And she had the nerve to call my son to ask for a rent reduction. What? Can you believe that? I would throw her down the stairs. I said to my son, I would push this woman down the stairs, but my luck, she wouldn't die. She would become a paraplegic, and then I would have to take care of her. I'd have to give her the apartment building. Believe me. And every holiday, she sends me a holiday card, and it irritates the hell out of me, and I'll tell you what. I don't want to remember this woman. I don't want her to send me anything, because when I do, all I keep thinking about is 800 minus 6,500. And she sends me a Christmas card? Are you crazy, lady? Are you out of your mind? Let me tell you what else she did once, if you don't think renters are crazy. We put a new roof on the building. Now, see, you get to amortize that over 30 years, but the Rent Control Board in San Francisco, in their generosity, says to you, if you send somebody out and they make a map of the roof above everybody's apartment, then you can put an increase per year on their portion of the rent, okay? Now, if you got a big apartment building, it averages out to between $7 and $15 a month. So this woman got a $7 increase in her rent, and she went to the rent board about that because she didn't think we had done it correctly, and she didn't understand why she had to pay that. So we had to pay for another surveyor to go out to redo what the first one had did. We had to pay for all the time at the rent board because she said she doesn't have any money. And you will never get rid of this woman because she's older. You'll never get rid of her, and she's needy. Oh God, please. So I should just adopt her as a child. Then I could deduct her at least on my income tax. Anyway, so expect it because I'm telling you, these renters, it's coming. All right. What other obstacles are you guys getting? I tried to hit a few. What else are you getting out there?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
In your previous presentation, you were mentioning that in the third quarter we might experience a slow market recession, short or long.
I said we'll know 6-7 months.
Yeah, but the lady that you were introducing us to her, she came up with two products, one 80-10-10, the other one equity.
Oh, kidding.
Equity sharing. So my question is that a justification of the market would slow down because they coming up with these two products, or maybe?
No, the market is saying
Maybe
it's
they're
not,
selling more
the
homes.
market is saying no. The market is saying the economy's gonna get better, that Mr. Trump is gonna get this economy going. I gave you the either or. Either he's gonna do that, there's no middle of the road. We can't stay at 1.9 the way we have been. Because in order to do that, we have a deficit every year of $800 billion. And look at where the debt has gone. It took us 200 years to get to 10 trillion. 8 years to get to 20 trillion. You can't keep doing that every 8 years. If we double the debt again in 8 years, we'll be at $40 trillion. Do you understand that? And if you added everything in, do you know how much money the United States really owes? Not just other countries. Underfunded pensions, Social Security looking forward with all the baby boomers getting on it, all of the welfare payments that we have to make to people. It's about $483 trillion, okay? Do you realize what I'm telling you? So at the end of the day, I gave you an either or because it's gonna go one way or the other. There's no middle ground. We can't stay at 1.9% anymore. We hit the wall. So we're either gonna get this economy up and running, and we have to have hope that he can do that, and the guy's trying as hard as he can. It's the damn Congress that's gonna give him hell, you know that, both the Republicans and the Democrats, because they're all idiots. If he can't do that, and they will blame him, you know they will blame him if he can't, whether it's his fault or not, then we will go into a recession. But the 80-10-10, and the basically one where they're gonna share in appreciation, but remember this, the 80-20, the 80-10-10, you have to be a specific borrower. And the other one she showed you, they're only doing it in very specific areas. And those areas are areas that have appreciated repeatedly even during a recession. Maybe only 1-2%, but in a good time, maybe 20%. So they're very careful, the areas that they pick. But I think it shows with the opening of the mortgage market that they're thinking it's going to get going. And I think he will get it going, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't think Congress is going to cooperate much with him. I think they're going to fight him every inch of the way, and I don't think he gives a damn. I think he's just going to go out there and do it anyway. He's going to tell the Secretary of the Treasurer, that's it. Tell the IRS there's new rules. I love one thing he said today. He said all these conferences and all these playthings they go to, you know, all these groups like the IRS, the $14 million they spent going to a seminar where they showed pictures of everybody in Las Vegas in the spa and in the tub, all having champagne. He said that's over. He said they need to be at work. Nobody gets an answer from the IRS. No veteran can get in to see a doctor. You don't need to go to a conference. I'm going to tell you how you make success. Work. Mm-hmm. Hooray. Mm-hmm. He doesn't give a you know what. Yes.
Wallace Ranch in Dublin, there's about 800 units, homes. They're not selling out there.
No.
Why is that?
Well, what are they priced at?
You know, from $7 to $3 million.
Okay. And what would you class that an A, B, or C location?
Probably B.
Okay, are the school districts good there?
Not sure. Dublin area. I
Huh?
don't know. Dublin area?
Are the schools good there?
Oh, yeah, not too bad.
What do you mean by not too bad?
Probably 7, 8.
Uh-huh. And is the location in a good area where it's accessible to
Yes.
transportation,
Yes.
accessible to retail?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes and yes.
there's something the millennials don't like about it. What does it look like?
3 stories. They're all 3 stories. That's what
There's
a lot of people don't like.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of communities of 1 story. So I'm just wondering now, the broker, the sales office, they're rewarding 6%.
Oh, of course they are, and then they'll
Is
start to
there
give you
limitation on that one?
what did we just say? When they start to give you 6% and then, what did we just say? We just said when they start to give you 6% and $1,000 check, you know they're not selling.
I know.
They're not selling because the people that are coming to see them, which are probably young families and whatever, they don't like them. Maybe there's too many heights in the 3 stories, maybe they don't like the location, maybe they don't like the school district, maybe they don't like the look of the house inside. What does it look like inside? Is it very modern?
It's very modern, and it's a nice community, gated.
That doesn't make any
Overlooking the
difference.
hills. Well, no, I'm just telling you how I feel,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
They look like apartments though.
They
Some of
do?
them, but
Oh,
then
well,
if you
that's a
go-
killer.
That
Yeah,
is,
but
that
if
is
you
the problem. It's
go-
like, they look like apartments.
Oh, that's a killer.
That's the main.
Well, that's a killer. That's a, excuse me, they look like apartments, that's a killer, forget it. No millennial is gonna buy anything that looks like an apartment. If they want an apartment, they go live in an apartment. They're now turning 30, they want a house that looks like a house.
Well, they're not built yet. Some of them are built, the humongous homes are built up in the hills, so.
Yeah, but who, all right, I wanna ask you a question. Who in the hell wants to spend $3 million in Dublin? I don't. For $3 million, I can go someplace else. I'm not going to Dublin for $3 million, that's for sure.
True.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
I don't mean to be
True.
unkind, I'm
Right.
sure Dublin is a lovely community, I love everybody in Dublin, it's not that I don't like Dublin, but I'm not gonna put $3 million in Dublin, you'll never get it out, my God. So big deal, you had a big huge house, just more to clean. Now, you say some other places, tell me about some other places in the East Bay where I would spend $3 million and I would do that, but I don't wanna do that in Dublin. Especially when I'm looking at a bunch of other places that look like apartment houses that sold for $600,000 that they couldn't sell anyway. So if they can't sell the $600,000, why in the hell would I be stupid enough to go buy a $3 million house? You've gotta be an idiot to do that. The first thing I would wanna know is why aren't these selling, right? Cause these should be selling.
I've asked the sales office. and
Well, they're not gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Of course they're not gonna, oh, it's beautiful, it's wonderful, it's just a little slow, the market now. Of course we're selling it, 9,000 people come through every weekend. No, that's not true. You're giving a 6%, you're giving a rebate.
Right.
They look like apartments,
what I
they're
told them.
3-story, nobody likes them, and you got all these big houses up here in the hill. Nobody wants to spend that so they can look down at apartment houses.
You know, they're close to freeway too. You know.
Oh,
I
great,
think
now we got
that's
another
the
reason,
killer too, you know?
terrific.
Like, you don't want to live next to
So,
the freeway, you know.
What is it that you don't know? It's close to the freeway. Look, it's close to the, look, it's close to,
Easy.
easy access doesn't mean noise in your living room or when you're
Exactly.
trying to sleep. Easy access means maybe a mile is all you have to go. Doesn't mean noise, look, no noise, it's not in the best location. They don't like 3 stories. They look like apartment houses. They've got these big gigantic things above that nobody wants. It's not the best school district. It's not a desirable place. They're willing to give you everything to get them sold. Is that enough reasons why it's not selling? You got 8 now.
There's
Okay,
one more,
perfect.
there is one more.
Oh, good.
There are car dealerships around it.
Oh, wonderful, even better. See, I asked you, I said.
I don't know, that's why I'm asking you.
No, but I said to, no. But I said to you, is it close to retail and shopping, like a grocery store and a pharmacy?
Walnut Creek, so they could have done the same thing here.
That
They
is
could have put
farther
the
away,
retail
the
down
whole
below.
food is
That's what you
way
need
farther
to do.
away.
So what you're telling me is you have a car dealership, perfect.
I
So
don't
you
know.
want milk at night, you're gonna go to the Ferrari Center, right?
No,
You're gonna
that-
go to the Ford dealership.
That is the complaint from a lot of existing
Yeah.
real estate agents
You
who change
can't
their clients
have
there.
you
Isn't there,
cannot, you cannot
jail
have
area
a,
too?
you can,
Right?
I
you
don't know, the
cannot
jail is
have
little
a
bit
success.
There's a jail.
There's a jail in the middle.
You cannot have a successful development of many hundred homes without having down below a retail environment. And that has to include at least 2 things. a grocery store and a drugstore, at least. Then a bank will come in. Those three things are usually essential. Then after that, it could be a Starbucks, it could be a Subway, it could be, a mom and pop kind of thing, it could be a beauty parlor, nail, whatever. But you gotta have those anchors. When you have hundreds of homes within a mile of where people can get them. And the fact there's a jail there, that's even more attractive. So I really want my $3 million house to overlook the Trescadero home for the mentally insane. That's really good.
Yeah, no, they are also competing with the neighborhoods. You can buy a house over there, 1.2, 1.5, a single.
That's my
family
point. Who
home,
wants to spend $3 million in Dublin?
That's why I was
Oh my
wondering
God.
why they're not.
All right, what else are you guys getting? Come on.
So what do you say, like, 27-year-old, he lives in an apartment right now, and his lease is up in September, and he's thinking about starting up, but when I
What's
told
his
him,
problem? He doesn't have the down payment?
yeah,
Okay, well, you should talk to him, and I'll tell you why, because last week they saw something where there's a company, a mutual fund, that will put up half the down payment. And they put up the other half.
oh,
It's not a loan.
oh, yeah.
No, it's not a loan. So they don't go on title.
Mhm.
And the way that it works is, they have to live in the house at least 3 years. And after 3 years, if they sell it and there's any appreciation,
Oh,
they get back their money they put down, plus they share in the appreciation.
right.
If it goes down in value, they still get the money back for the down payment, but they also share in the decrease. Does everybody understand that?
Oh,
Okay, and I left information that I think you guys must have to give them about this. It's not a bank, and it's not a lender. It's a mutual fund company out of New York. Okay, and it's very simple. They put up to half, you put up half. You buy the property, only in specific areas that they've approved. It's not a loan, so you're not paying any interest, you're not making any payments on that money. It's like free for the moment. You live there, if you sell it before 3 years, you owe them back their money right away. If you wait 3 years and sell it, then you pay them back the down payment. They're not on title, but they have a lien against the property, but they're not on title. And then if it goes up in value, they get back their down payment, and then whatever share they put in of appreciation. If it goes down, they get back their down payment, and they share in the decrease. Which means if, let's say, they had put up 50,000, but the house went down 10,000, you would not owe them back 50,000, you would only owe them back 40,000. Do you understand
Would
how
it
it
be
works?
45 or 50-50?
Yeah, I mean 45, if it was 50-50.
Yeah.
But let's say their share had been 10,000, then it would have been 40. Whatever their share is, they also participate in the decrease.
So what is the credit score limit on that? Is there a credit score needed?
Yeah, there was,
To get
it was like
approved?
7.
It was not bad. It was not bad.
I thought it was 720.
Yeah, not really, you have to be a good borrower, but it wasn't, crazy.
Do they charge any interest on that money they're putting down?
Do they what?
Do they charge any interest on?
No.
No?
No, and no payment. Anyway, it's an interesting product, especially if you have a young person who would like to buy something, but they don't have the complete down payment and no one can give it to them as a gift, yes.
California Association of Realtors also has
They
a lot
have
of
a
links for
program.
down payment assistance that we
Yes.
already have access to.
They do, and the cities and counties, some of them do, but they would depend on how much money he makes.
Yeah, a
and-
lot of them, they ran out of it, but this
Yeah.
is interesting, I would
It's an
like to-
interesting one because they
Yeah.
don't go on title and it's
Right.
free money for the period of time. Their money is free basically because you're not paying any interest on it.
So
It's an
where's the
interesting
contact
concept.
info?
Huh?
Who are they?
She represented 2 weeks ago.
They're a mutual
okay.
fund out of Wall Street
Okay,
with a lot of deep pockets. They have $1 billion to spend.
I'm sure they wanna invest in this area.
Well, they have picked specific areas. It's not every place. I don't think it's gonna be the $3 million house in Dublin.
It's only for primary home, and you cannot do that
No, it's
one
for
in
primary home. And I don't think it's the $3 million house in Dublin, which I can hardly wait to see. Okay,
And I have a question.
Sure.
It's about stock market.
yes.
I know that the stock market has been increased since Trump took the office, probably almost 1,000 points, right? And do you think that it's gonna be busted like the housing market before?
First of all, it's very selective. When you say the stock market, you can't think every stock. It's not every stock that's going up.
The general.
Well,
The index.
no, wait a minute. Here's what's gonna happen. It's way up there now. There might be a slight dip. That would be just a correction. If it goes down 500 points, that's just a minor correction. People taking profit off the table. If Mr. Trump gets this economy moving, you're going to see that 20,008 go to 22,000. I absolutely believe that because earnings are good. Europe isn't quite as chaotic. We have emerging countries doing better. If our economy does better, everything will be fine. If there's a lot of trouble here and nothing gets done, you're going to see that 20,000 go down to 16,000, and there's going to be a major correction in the market. We'll know in 6 or 7 months. Until then, it's going to play kind of back and forth, up a little one day, down a little one day.
I can see it though.
Hmm?
I can see it. You know, I mean, it really has to do with a lot of that is tied to the infrastructure.
Of course.
You know, and you can see they've already priced it in.
Yeah, of
You know,
course.
I mean, you know.
They have priced it in, but
Yeah.
once they know it's actually going to happen,
Right.
there'll be
Boom.
another burst. See,
Right.
Yeah.
they have priced everything
Right.
that he said he would do getting done.
Right.
But when they see it begin to get done, and that's the key, if they don't see it get done within a certain period of time, and they'll give him 7 months, 8 months, because they know it's slow back in Washington, he can't do it in a day, then they will start to see that market go up. But what are the companies that are going to do well? Anything with infrastructure, Caterpillar, Deere, AEOM, anything to do with military equipment. So you've got Northrop Grumman, you've got Lockheed, you've got Boeing. Anything to do with food and food processing, Koch Industries, Tyson Foods, which was very good today. Anything to do, and this is great. I don't like retail at all, okay? But the other day, Mr. Buffett sold $900 million of Walmart stock, okay? And I usually love Warren Buffett, and I usually agree with everything he says. However, I don't own any retail. I don't own Macy's because I don't think that works. It's just, they don't know where in the hell they are. They're not high end, they're not low, and they're just stuck in the middle there with too many stores. Okay, I like Costco. That I do own because that's a different concept, and my God, that place is crowded all the time. But I had Walmart stock, and he sold it. And so I was thinking to myself, should I sell it? Now, most of the time I would agree with him and do it automatically if I found out he sold something I want to get out of it. But I thought to myself, Walmart, do you realize that they bring in almost $500 billion a year in revenue? Okay. So one, they have the ability to rebrand themselves if they want, redo the stores, and they put $1 billion into their online last year.
Also at Staples.
Yeah, so I said to myself, I'm going to wait. So I called somebody that I know in New York. They said, just hold it, Carol, till the earnings come out because it's going to be good. He didn't tell me because he can't. That's insider trading. 50% of their business is groceries. It's not retail. They are not a retailer. They spent $1 billion on the internet last year that they have. 26% of their business now is all online. And they're not opening new stores. They're redoing all the old ones. So, good reason to hold Walmart. Do you know Bank of America today put his buy on it? Yeah, on Walmart. Yes, sir.
I heard they're closing a lot of stores.
No,
Walmart.
Macy's.
Walmart too.
Doesn't matter. The stores they close are the ones that aren't doing well. It doesn't matter. The ones that are doing well, they'll refurbish. They can get rid of the crap. They can afford to do that. And retail I don't like. I like pharmaceuticals, I like healthcare, I like financials, and I even like some of the energy stocks. That's where you need to go. And technology, my God. Technology is going crazy. Do you realize Apple, which remember at the beginning of last year was at 125, when I was here at the beginning of the year it went down to 90, remember? And I kept saying to myself, that's crazy. Just the cash they hold makes the company worth more than $90 a share. You have to be crazy not to buy Apple at 90. So I went and bought some. It's at 140 now. Now let's talk about why. Last quarter they sold $33 billion worth of iPhones. Somebody wanted them, even though the street said no one would ever buy an iPhone 7. They sell 462 of them a minute.
Wow.
A minute.
Wow.
They have $230 billion sitting abroad. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get that back? And $60 billion here. So you're going to worry about Apple? I would. And I'll tell you the magic of technology. Took me a while to figure this out. But you know, Snapchat now wants to be just called Snap. Okay. And their prospectus has been pretty gray, and they've really been getting the rigging on Wall Street, because see, Facebook is coming out with a Snap that's gonna be 3 times better, and why would you go from Facebook to Snap to have to go back? People are not going to do that, believe me. Everybody's gonna go to Facebook. Snap is not gonna, but okay, fine, they'll go public, they'll take their money, they'll all run, we get it. They're valuing it about 20 billion. How can you value a company like that and value a company like Uber at 50 billion, and they advertisers want to reach more people and figure out who you are and how to get you, right? So Snap has a lot of eyeballs. That's what makes them valuable. Uber has a lot of eyeballs. That makes them valuable, plus a lot of data. Facebook, do you know how many people go into Facebook in a month? 1 billion people a month.
Wow.
And growing. Unbelievable. So only on basically Silicon Valley can you go public on Wall Street and never expect to own a profit or never have it. Because if you read the perspective from Snap, it says that. We are not profitable. Profitability is not our goal. And yet, Wall Street's going to give them $20 billion to go play. Now, see, I wouldn't buy Snap because I think Facebook is going to put them on their knees.
You don't think Uber is good?
What?
You take Uber?
I think Uber's just fine, but they don't want to go public. They don't need to. They're getting private money. Why should they go public? Then they have to share the wealth with everybody. They just got $3 billion from Saudi Arabia. They don't need any money.
So what are your stock picks other than Apple and
What?
stock picks of the day?
I just bought some Waste Management. I just bought some Northrop Grumman. I just bought some Tyson Foods. I just bought some Koch Industries. I just bought some more Apple. I just bought some more Facebook. And I bought something called Westar Energy, which is an energy electrical company in the Midwest. Why? Because that's where all the jobs are going.
Westar Energy?
Westar Energy, what's the,
Westar Energy, I don't know what the symbol is.
Ticker.
Westar Energy. It's out of Kansas. Waste Management, very good. Good company. Should buy some Walmart today. It's not going away.
Yeah, well,
I own some Costco, I
Does he
like
know
that too.
something we don't
I
know?
also own some CVS and Walgreens, which I like a lot. Because we have an older population, we're keeping everybody alive with medicine, you do know that. Everybody's addicted, you do know that. Anybody that's 60 years old, go to their
Medicine
bathroom and
cabinet,
it's like a pharmacy, right? Because they're keeping us alive with all these wonderful pills that basically make you wacko anyway. So at the end of the day, I don't know if it's quality, just quantity. You make somebody rich. I mean, I know how many pills I take in the morning, right? I know how many pills I take. And I just think to myself, I mean, when you go away, it takes a suitcase for the stupid medications that you need. And I've just thought to myself, why would I bother? If I just don't take it and I'm going for 10 days, if I live, I'll live. If I come back, then I know I didn't need it. Okay, all right, guys, it's an hour and a half. Any more? No? Okay, good.
Thanks,
All
Carol.
right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.